not a single board is predominantly female. We're not saying that men don't have a seat in beauty. We're saying women deserve an equal seat to have equal representation of what beauty can look like, feel like, and be. This is Off the Shelf, where we take the most iconic beauty brands, products, and people in the beauty industry off the shelf and examine the stories behind the story. It's where beauty is treated like the economic, cultural, and power-building force it really is. I'm Susannah Dellinger, and here we're going to talk about what really shapes the industry, who holds the power, how the decisions get made, and what it actually takes to build, scale, and quite frankly, survive in beauty. These are the conversations happening behind closed doors about money, relationships, risk, and cult moments. If you're building, breaking through, or trying to understand how beauty really works, or just love a really good story, you're in the right place. Welcome back to Off the Shelf. I'm your host, Susannah Dellinger. I am so excited today to dive into the 6 houses of beauty, if you will, and explore who owns what in the beauty industry and how that shapes what beauty actually is and who's really deciding what is beauty in this entire industry. And it's going to be a little bit of a deep dive on some companies here. And we're going to talk about the brands that they own. We're going to talk about their philosophies. We're going to look at their boards. We're going to look at the percentage of men to women on the boards. Do any of these brands have women in the C-suite or as chairwomen of the board? And if you're into the beauty industry and you're like, I never knew that these brands were owned by anybody else, or I haven't ever heard of some of these companies, you're in for a little treat to go down the web of beauty. And we're going to skim and just do the 6 biggest houses, but know that there are so many more emerging brands that are buying other brands that as of this recording, this is the landscape. But because of the merger and acquisition landscape that is 2026 beauty, some of this might actually be changed and some of it might be in flux. So exciting to see if this is still true once this airs today. So let's dive into it. Most people know at least, I would say, 3 of the main houses in beauty, and some of these others may surprise you. So we're going to go from the biggest, and I'm not going to say smallest because they're still major, but we're going to go in descending order of the 6 houses. So right off the gate, the biggest company in beauty, surprise to nobody, is L'Oreal. Right? So L'Oreal is estimated around $60 billion annually. Very casual, very casual. That's B billion, right? So what makes up this $60 billion portfolio with L'Oreal besides its own namesake, L'Oreal? We have Lancôme. We have YSL Beauty. I got my little cheat sheet book here because I don't want to miss any. We've got Kiehl's, Urban Decay, Kerastase Hair Care, Redken Hair Care. Then we have our luxurious Prada Beauty, Valentino Beauty and Fragrance. Back to hair care, we've got Pureology. Now if we go and look at mass, the things that you can find in the drugstores, convenience stores, etc., we've got CeraVe, everybody's favorite. We've got nail polish entering the chat with Essie. Hello, ballet slippers. We have Garnier. Fun fact, they also own Maybelline. And then we have a wide variety of fragrances that they license. They were just in the news that they've also now acquired the license for Creed. We have La Roche-Posay, one of our favorite sunscreens. And now we have SkinCeuticals as well as It Cosmetics. Fun fact, It Cosmetics, when it was purchased by L'Oreal, they got the deal done by making Jamie Kern Lima, the founder of It Cosmetics, the first ever female CEO of her brand. All the other companies that they had purchased before that had never happened in the history of L'Oreal. Shout out to Jamie Kern Lima, well deserved. Now, we have others that they own, but those are the biggest ones. So let's count. How many do they own? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 brands, and that's not including all the licenses. Licenses means when a designer launches a fragrance or a celebrity launches a fragrance, you then license the right to the name and the fragrance is done under your fragrance house. And it's a very large part of the industry. Let's look at the board of L'Oreal. 17 board members. 7 are women. So less than half of the board members are female. Why does this matter? Why am I going to sit here and dive in to who has female board members, who has females in the C-suite? It's because when you think about the decisions that are being made at these companies, what are the decisions being made in the beauty industry? We're deciding what images to use to represent beauty. We're deciding literally in these rooms what is beautiful, what skin tones, what skin textures, what ages, what hair color, what ethnicity. We're deciding so much of what subliminal messages are we putting out there that represents aspirational beauty. Are they Eurocentered ideals? Are they age-centered ideals? That is so important when we think about the ages of people shopping in beauty are getting lower and lower and lower. We have Gen Alpha, right? We have the Sephora generation, and we have the Ulta generation. There's birthday parties for 9-year-olds being hosted in Ulta. And so if you're talking about having Gen Alpha walk into a store and try to find people that look like them, try to find skin textures that look like them when they're the tweens and they're first starting to break out, but everybody has perfectly smooth airbrush skin. That matters, those decisions being made. And then even more so, we're talking about the decisions about what ingredients to use or not use in product. We're talking about the decisions of the words. What words are we going to use to market this product? Are we going to talk about fixing something? Are we going to talk about anti-something? Or are we going to talk about belonging? Are we going to talk about expression? Are we going to market from a sense of inclusion? Or are we going to market from a sense of, uh-oh, you have something you need to fix? When we have a predominantly anything in a room, any gender, any background, anything, when one thing is the majority, then you're going to have an echo chamber. And as we dive into these boards, you're going to notice something in common. Not a single board is predominantly female. We're not saying that men don't have a seat in beauty. We're saying women deserve an equal seat to have equal representation of what beauty can look like, feel like, and be. All right, so let's move on from L'Oreal. Now we have Estée Lauder, probably also very familiar if you love beauty with the Estée Lauder family. Estée Lauder is roughly estimated around $20 billion. So about a third when we look at L'Oreal. They also have 17 board members. Around 8 of them are women. They own La Mer, Clinique, MAC Cosmetics, Bobbi Brown, not to be confused with Bobbi's new line, but the original Bobbi Brown, Tom Ford Beauty, Le Labo Fragrances, Frederic Malle Fragrances, Jo Malone Fragrance, Glam Glow, Aveda Hair Care. As of this recording, they own Too Faced, Smashbox, and Dr. Jart, but those 3 together are up for sale in a little special bundle package. Leave it to Estée Lauder to have kind of a buy 2, get 1 free deal. We have Darphin, Bumble and Bumble Hair Care, and The Ordinary. It is worth noting that in The Ordinary, it's a minority ownership. The rest of the brands listed are majority ownership. Estée Lauder does a lot of social impact through their give back with breast cancer every year. L'Oreal also, it's worth mentioning, does a lot of give back too with female empowerment. They have the Women of Worth campaigns. They have female initiatives within their own companies. They have a lot of DE&I opportunities as well. Right behind Estée Lauder, we have LVMH. Now, LVMH is a fascinating one to look at because technically the company is worth more than both Lauder and L'Oreal combined at a staggering $166 billion. However, the majority of that is made up in their fashion houses. LVMH, of course, owns Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, etc. Now, if you look at just the beauty sector of what LVMH owns, it's very interesting because they are the only house or family, so to speak, that also owns their own retailer. It's a very small retailer that you probably never heard of before called Sephora. In addition to Sephora, they also own, at least have a stake in, for now, Fenty. Of course, that is also up for sale. They own Benefit, Dior, Kenzo Fragrances, Guerlain, Givenchy, Acqua di Parma Fragrances, Makeup Forever, Marc Jacobs Beauty, it's coming back, Marc Jacobs Fragrance, and Maison Francis Fragrances as well. They have some minority stakes in a few other brands. And again, as of this recording, I cannot stress that enough because there is so much fluctuation and change happening in 2026 in beauty. LVMH boards, 17 board members, it's Interesting. L'Oreal, Lauder, and LVMH have the same amount of board members. 6 of them are female. So that so far is the lowest representation of females on any board there is. It's also worth noting that LVMH is a French company. They're not based in the United States. It is fascinating to think about one of beauty's largest retailers also owning brands in beauty. What does that mean then for a brand going into Sephora when you're a direct competitor to some of these LVMH brands? Did you know that Sephora has something called a kitchen clause? That's what we refer to it in the industry. It means that they want access to coming to visit your labs. They want to give you feedback on your upcoming product launches. They want to give you feedback on your formulations. They want to tell you what to launch, when to launch it, what shades to launch. And oh yeah, you might just see that coming in one of their brands. It's a fascinating thing to think about when your largest competitor is actually your largest retailer. It's something that brands don't think of when they say, oh, I want to be in Sephora. You're also going to be letting the fox into the hen house. So now let's switch over to our last 3. We've got Shiseido. Shiseido is a Japanese company that's worth around $10 billion. They have Clé de Peau, NARS, Bare Minerals, Buxom, Ipsa, Sensai, Drunk Elephant, and Laura Mercier as of this recording. Shiseido, again, is an Asian-based company. Their board members and how many are female are not readily available based on the fact that they're in Japan. However, it is worth note that they have never had a female chairperson of the board. Coty, right behind them, $9 billion roughly estimated. They own everyone's favorite CoverGirl. They also own Rimmel, Max Factor, Sally Hansen, Clairol Hair Care, Burberry, Kylie Cosmetics, Gucci, for now, L'Oreal, actually, now as of 2028, I believe we'll have Gucci, as well as many, many fragrances. Coty is one of the largest fragrance houses that there is. They have 13 board members, 7 of which are female. So that means this is the first company we've made it to that more than 50% of the board is female. It's also worth noting that Coty, up until last year, had a female CEO. Amorepacific is right behind them at around $5 billion. They are also an Asian-based brand. They own Tata Harper, Sulawesi, Laneige, Innisfree, Cosrx, Astura. I probably pronounced some of these incorrectly. We're going to blame Starbucks on that one for having my brain go a little bit too fast when reading things like Innisfree. Now, Amorepacific is a very fascinating one because as we watch the rise of Asian beauty, we're going to see their portfolio expand. It's not a matter of if they will buy more brands in the future. It's a matter of which of these up-and-coming Asian brands that they will invest in and give a platform to. Tata Harper was one of the first US-based companies that they purchased, and it's worth noting. So what does all of this mean when we look at the beauty ownership? It means that you can be a little thoughtful when deciding which brands that you want to purchase when you're in store. It means that you're going to be more informed when deciding who to support. Now, several brands out there have ownership beyond their own C-suite, including private equity, venture capital, and we will dive into all of that on upcoming episodes. But when we talk about the true power players in beauty, these are the 6 houses that you need to know and that you need to think of mind. Are they making the world a better place in beauty? These conversations matter because who gets to speak shapes who gets to win. If this episode challenged how you see beauty, business, or the power behind the industry, share it with someone who needs to hear it. To connect or explore more, check the show notes. I'm Susannah Dellinger, and this has been Off the Shelf.